Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. Thank you for joining me. This week on the lead story, I want to follow up on what we talked about last week when we focused on doing the right thing. But I want to make sure that you unequivocally understand that doing the right thing often comes at a cost. So I'm not talking about doing the right thing because you polled everybody and one more said yes than said no, and so you went with the yeses. That's what I'm not talking about. Andy Andrews, in his haunting book, How Do You Kill 11 Million People, notes that when Hitler rose to power, the majority of the German citizens did not join the Nazi Party, but they went along with what Hitler and the Nazi Party did. In fact, he cites one situation there that causes me to say it's a haunting story, because he said that when the trains carrying the Jewish citizens to the concentration camps to be murdered, when they went by the churches on Sunday, the churches would do two things. The organist would play louder, and the people within the walls would sing louder, so they did not have to hear the crying and wailing of the Jewish citizens going to the concentration camps, because they knew what was happening was wrong, but they weren't willing to do anything about it because it came at a greater cost than they were willing to pay. So you can be a leader and pay a small cost or no cost at all by doing the right thing. But the great leaders are always willing to pay with something very valuable to them, and often with their life. So July 4th is next week, and we will be celebrating the independence of our country. 56 men signed the Declaration of Independence, and their conviction resulted in untold sufferings for themselves and for their families. Of the 56 men, 5 were captured by the British and tortured before they died. 12 had their homes ransacked and burned. 2 lost their sons in the Revolutionary War. Another had 2 sons captured. 9 of the 56 fought and died from wounds or hardships of the war. Carter Braxton of Virginia, a wealthy planter and trader, saw his ships sunk by the British Navy. He sold his home and properties to pay his debts and died in poverty. That's a cost. At the Battle of Yorktown, the British General Cornwallis had taken over Thomas Nelson's home for his headquarters. Nelson quietly ordered General George Washington to open fire on his home. The home was destroyed, and Nelson died bankrupt. John Hart was driven from his wife's bedside as she was dying, and their 13 children fled for their lives. His fields and mill were destroyed. And for over a year, he lived in a forest and caves, returning home only to find that his wife was dead and his children had vanished. A few weeks later, he too died from exhaustion. Listen, we celebrate our freedom, and we celebrate it with fireworks and maybe a picnic or gathering the family together, and that's awesome. But please remember, freedom is not free. And the leaders who founded this amazing country, they understood when they put their name on that Declaration of Independence, it would come at a cost. And they understood that that cost might even be their lives. Celebrate, but remember the sacrifice, and committed your own life to be willing to do what is right, even if it costs you. Maybe one of the greatest stories ever told is the story of the United States of America, what I believe and unapologetically say is the greatest country ever that the world has known, because we've done more good for others around the world than we have even for ourselves. But you've got a great story to tell too. And when you look at examples like this and apply them to your life and do the right thing, even if it costs you, then you will write a story that others will want to go out and tell. God bless you, and God bless America.